Welcome to the Brew. We have a huge show for you today. We have the founders of TradeHawk. Everyone's on board today. We're going to come in, we're going to interview and figure out what it took to build. What is it? What it took to bring it to exit. And we're going to go through all the emotional, journey that it takes to build an application. And it's not for the faint at heart. So stay tuned. Here we go. Welcome. All right.
What, Mo? We switched shoes today.
The right? TradeHawk crew.
Oh my God! Unbelievable. Right. That was a great cold open. I think you should do them from now on.
No way. All right. So awesome. First, who are you? We want introductions from the two of you. You guys are the main founders. So TradeHawk, tell us how you got into it. So let's start with you, Lex. What were you trying to solve when you built TradeHawk? And
okay, so first of all, this is Costa.
Hi, Costa.
He's the grumpy technology person. Okay? That's who he is.
He's only saying that because it's true.
Okay, but I have to say, the best CTOs are poets because they have creativity and efficiency of expression. So you are the poet of the group. Right?
Look at you. That's impressive, Mal. That almost was like a bar shirt. I love it. Very impressive.
All right, so go ahead.
So TradeHawk. So I'll go way back, but I'll be quick. So Costas and I have known each other for pushing 23, 25 years probably now.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
With a consulting group in my old firm, trading firm, and they built the first round of technology in the trading industry, the market making trading industry, probably in right around 2098.
Yeah, 2000.
Okay.
Sorry there.
So we started there, and it was called Brisk. Okay, it was represented Boda Risk Systems. A combine it called it Brisk. Yeah, that's right. But that product was built to solve a real problem on the trading floor because we market makers never used any sort of computer to manage our Greeks and our positions and all that stuff. We did it on paper. So we would write things down on paper, cross things out, throw things in the air. So that system was sort of a big front runner to modern day trading systems, but for a professional market making firm. Right? Okay. That was the first one. You want to add anything about that? That era?
No, just it came around the time with CBOE hybrid. So it was one of the first ones to connect to the CBOE hybrid.
Yeah. That's right.
So repeat that. We didn't quite hear you on that. So say that again.
CBOE hybrid.
Yeah, it came out around the same time that the CBOE hybrid system.
Okay.
CBOE was coming out, so it was one of the first attempts, at least for Boda, to have an auto-port system.
Right.
So hybrid, you mean switching over from paper to digital?
Well,
that's what they called it. Actually, they called it hybrid.
Right, and what it meant was that markets were going to start being posted digitally, so through a computer, as opposed to sheerly open outcry and yelling and screaming. Yeah. So we went from a fully manual, world of a bunch of traders yelling and screaming quotes to a quote reporter, a human being who was taking quotes in as he or she heard them, to this hybrid mechanism where everyone could come in and plug in their computer and disseminate markets across multiple classes and multiple option strikes. So it was the kind of the very beginning of moving from a floor-based world to a very technical hybrid and then ultimately fully digital electronic world.
Basically, yelling at the computer instead of yelling at
right, exactly. So pros and cons. So security wise, so what's the back end cybersecurity? Are there any cons or pros? And then what about as far as you guys on the floor? There's probably a quality of life improvement, unless you're an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Security wise, I don't think we really.
It was a closed environment. So there was no outside access.
Okay.
You either had access to go to the floor and turn on that computer, or you didn't.
Right.
Okay. So then this program translated over to TradeHawk.
No,
Mm,
no.
no.
There was an iteration in there.
Yeah.
So,
Many iterations.
yeah, there's many iterations. So what happened then was that company was sold. That product was sold in 2005, let's call it, right around there. So that piece of software went with the, with the company and the whole clearing and trading firm. So then I continued on in the off-floor trading world, and Costa, I think, went somewhere else for a while, and then ultimately came back as a consultant, and we built the second version, which we called Zoom.
Mhm.
No relation to the Zoom, meeting site. We call that Zoom just for our off-floor trading environment. Okay. And that was still a very much professional, market making sort of platform, very institutional, right?
Remote market.
Yeah, for remote market making and trading. TradeHawk came after that. So TradeHawk was a ground up development. Now you can't unthink what you know. So we tried to take all of our proprietary market making experience and expertise and push it into what we ultimately would become a retail trading platform called TradeHawk. We wanted to compete with Thinkorswim and those types of platforms, but we wanted to do it from an angle that was a professional market making angle and how we thought and worked and managed our workflows, as opposed to a retail-esque only trading, thought pattern.
So that's probably the most important thing about the application. So explain a little bit, if you're going to give, 3 points of what differentiates, like if you mix in market maker, which is, behind the scenes in the back doors of everything, with retail traders, what's the leg up you're giving people when you do that? Like, what does it look like? What are some features that represent that?
So from my end, it would be, I think, risk management. There's a lot of math that goes into it that Lex, as an institutional trader, like, he keeps talking about it, and usually I'm like, oh, what did he just say? So there's a lot of that in there that makes it easier to at least visualize and understand.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Speed of trading. It's at least we like to think that it's very easy to use and efficient in sending orders out. But you probably know more about the difference between, because I've only been.
I think from the what we brought to it from an institutional side or a market making side is, in our world as a market maker, there's no need for idea generation, trade idea generation, right? Because we reacted to markets. So that was a little bit of a hurdle to morph it into a retail, because retail folks need to do the exact opposite.
Oh, right.
They need to have a reason for making a trade, and hopefully it's a good reason. If a retail trader has an expertise in direction, God bless, because that is the hardest thing in the world to figure out. Okay, and we've debated about it. We don't have a ton of idea generation in the platform that says, hey, this signal's here and you should sell it, and this signal's here, you should buy it. We let the user do that for him or herself. But we're getting to a point now where we want to add a bunch of automation to the process, so that someone's workflow, and I always use the word workflow, someone's workflow can be come in the form of, like, let's call it a bot, for lack of a better term, right? So they can put together some conditions, and if the conditions are met, the trade will be made. So that's where the retail world, from what I found, is moving to, because, and Molly, you and I have talked about this. Every one of our retail traders, right? They all have a main day job. They love trading. I mean, not all, but almost nearly all of them. They love trading. They love investing some of their own money, but they can't be in front of the computer all the time. So naturally, they want some sort of automated workflow to help them along the way. It can be a signal. It can be an alert. Who knows? Those kind of things. So we're really putting a lot of thought into how we can make that great. South of that, where we are now, any sort of trade that you're going to push to the marketplace can be done nearly instantly. You can create your own spreads, save them, repeatable sort of things that you always do. You can create a custom version of that for yourself. It's a right-click sort of functionality. You pick your spread, fills it in, you adjust prices, fine-tune it, send it out, right?
I think one of the really neat things about TradeHawk is the simulator aspects of it, where you can really, before you jump in, you can graph, you can project and change. So tell us more about that part.
Yeah, so I'll go first, and with the what we call it, what if. So the way we looked at it in the trading world is, what if I had this trade on, or this spread on, or this position on, and XYZ happened. So what are XYZ? Well, big shocks to implied volatility could happen, big movements to the underlying, plus in shocks to implied volatility. So a lot of different moving pieces to what can affect a position. So the what if component is a risk simulator within TradeHawk that's really pretty advanced. It's not advanced to use. All you need to do is throw your position in and hit a button.
So yeah, to interrupt there, it's advanced, but it's not, because I am not a professional trader, and in trying to use
and sorry to interrupt you. By the way, the guy who invented the euro has no finance background. He's actually an MIT engineer. So that's probably a good thing, because then you can yeah,
that's where I was going. It's a combination of all the advanced knowledge Lex has that I don't understand half the time he's talking, trying to put into a system that I can understand from the other side. So we're meeting somewhere in the middle where it's advanced, but it's not crazy. It's
right.
You can understand it, even though you're not.
It feels like lowering the barrier of entry.
Yep.
So,
and I always use the analogy of the stoplight, which I'm going to go back to. It's red, green, and yellow. You as a car driver know what to do when you see one of those colors on the stoplight, right? You either stop, you yield, or you go, right? Well, it's like that. We try to make TradeHawk like that, where there's a lot of working behind the scene to make it be red, yellow, or green. Some technology there, and no one understands how that works really, unless you're a stoplight maker. But you don't have to. You just have to know how to use the output that the platform gives you. And if you can understand that, which we tried to make it very understandable, you can be effective, right? So we gave a lot of ability to journaling, volatility sort of analysis in our volatility workshops.
Greeks.
Yeah, Greeks, tons of Greeks. A lot in the what if. There's all kinds of great metrics to really slice and dice a position. I would say the super advanced user, though, someone who comes from more of a background like I have in the pro side, they typically don't use a what if. They don't need to analyze an iron condor or a call spreader. They already know what it is.
That's a big difference, though. Like for you, between him and me, I have to go before I do any kind of trade. I have to go in there and spend a lot of time just to figure out my break-even points. Mm-hmm. So there are things to him that are obvious because of his experience, and should be obvious to him.
So
the system gives you both paths, right? If you don't need it, you don't use it, and if you do need it, it's a very easy button click to get it to where you need to get it, and do your analysis. And then obviously from that point, you can send the trade out just like that, right?
So you guys have built a couple of programs, it sounds like. So for everyone out there who's starting on a new project, what does the day-to-day look like? So how does a non-professional trader who now trades go to Lex, who's a total brainy expert, and you've got two brains and two sides of the world? What does a day look like as far as coding? So I need this to do this, and then you go code, or tell us what that looks like.
So yeah, it's a lot different than it was 20 years ago, right? After all this time together, all he's got to do is say 2 or 3 words, and I got my requirements. I know exactly where he's going and what he needs. So it's a lot easier than it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
But for the most part, usually he'll come up with an idea.
We'll debate it. Don't let him be nice here. Don't let him sugarcoat it. He'll yell and scream at me, tell me it's stupid. Yeah. And then he'll come back a second time and be like, I was thinking about that idea you had.
It's probably still.
It's probably still stupid.
Well, half of the time is me trying to understand what he's describing, because he's thinking in his head, but I have to understand what he's saying.
And by the way, you're doing that for retail traders. They're trying to understand as well. So you're translating the genius into. And by the way, simplification of anything complicated.
That comes at the end, right?
Yeah. So that's a good point. Let me give him some credit here. He's not going to do it for himself. It's really difficult when I start spitting things out. If he didn't understand options as well as he does, it would be really, really difficult for him to make the programming decision, right? Because he has such a great knowledge of options, right? For a programmer in that space, he's a great commodity. I don't want to make you sound like a piece of meat either.
Yeah, Lex. That was
He's a
cold.
great commodity piece of meat. No. But so that whole
I get
part
paid
of
by the pound. They weigh me every morning here.
that whole conversation is light speed now. So now he doesn't really have to interpret as much as he thinks he does. What he has to do, and what he's very good at, is he has to first understand the problem, which he does instantly, and then in his speak, his language, make it work. Because I am notorious for saying, here's how a layman does it. Here's how I want it to look. I don't think about anything in the back end and how it's going to, put that output out there. I said, this is what I want. Make it happen. He has to figure out what those steps
are. That's what I meant by it's much easier now. Because before we would have to write everything down, talk about it, and now at the point where after a couple of talks we can do a quick prototype.
You just do like a Vulcan mind meld, and you're like, I understand. I will go build. So you have two things. So you guys are building together for a while. So not only does the relationship change and you learn how to work and speak each other's languages, but also the tech has probably changed. So back then you're probably building absolutely ground up from scratch. And I imagine now you probably have pre-coded packets that you can embed. Do you use those, or how do you?
No. So there's some that we use. Win a few, you lose a few, right? So if you do use packages, you lose the flexibility of like saying, I want to click here and I want it
pink
A, B, C to happen, right? So if you, depending on what package you have, the answer may be sorry.
Right.
But
so what you gain in financial
now, I'm sorry.
What you gain in financial efficiency, you lose in flexibility.
Yeah. However, what we do have now is there's a lot of libraries. There's a lot of stuff. Pretty much every problem that I'm going to run into has been solved. And the code is out there. So there's plenty of examples and free libraries if you're looking for something. Like if you're looking to solve a math problem, I don't have to solve it. There's plenty of libraries out there that will do it for you. We just have to pick which one it is.
So for someone brand new, step by step, how would one go to find a library, Google library? Like, how would you go and seek those out?
Just do a quick search on Google, and literally your problem after that is which one do I pick? There's so many of them. Where back in 2000, it was hard to do a search on the web, but you have to go hunting for books. Hopefully we find a book that has an example kind of similar of what you're trying to do.
Okay.
Right now you can find everything on the internet.
Okay, so now so you finished, and when you've had a couple of exits, so how do you know when something's done enough, cooked enough to go out and either get VC, funding, or to exit, to sell it completely?
Are we talking about code?
Yeah,
it's never done.
I was going to say we have this little joke when TradeHawks finish and he will never be finished.
So my grandchildren will be working on it.
I mean, the problem is that and Molly, you know this well from all our shows that we do. The market changes every day, right? There's always a new sort of angle on something every day. So like that. We're going to have to respond to some sort of new regulatory sort of item, perhaps. We don't know. Yeah. When that comes along, it has to be built into the system potentially.
And new ideas.
New ideas. Look at when you have a lot of users, people. Yeah, I'm a crazy guy for sure. But you get people who have good ideas that we haven't thought of, especially when it comes to retail trading, because it's so different from what we did, right? So when someone tosses out a retail-esque idea, I look at him, I go, I didn't think of that. That's a good one. I think that's really good, right? And he looks at me and says, "No, that's a stupid idea." And then I finally convinced him.
I told you.
Right.
So and that's how it goes. I mean, most of our new ideas, except for the main, automation pieces that we're working on and thinking about, they probably come from users who really, push the system hard, and they say, "Hey, have you ever thought about this? What if you did that? Blah blah blah." And some of them suck, and some of them are really good.
That's how we started building it. It was basically customers calling in saying, "Hey, I need this." Okay.
Yeah.
So where does one contact you? Just.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Coach,
I'll give you Lexus.
Coach's 1-800 number.
Let me give you his cell number.
His
No, just
address.
if you put it on the banner across, it's just tradehawk@tradier.com. So it's very
Okay.
simple.
Okay.
So the whole team gets that email, even the service people. So, but we see it too. We look at those as well. So if there's something that kind of is in our wheelhouse, we'll respond to it. And I don't care if people email me either. It's just lex@tradier.com. Everyone knows that.
So what's a little bit of your tech stack? So what code is it written in, and what are some cool things you've used?
It's very simple. It's Java.
Backend, right?
The front end.
Okay.
Everything's Java.
Front end, you're right.
On a Postgres database.
Okay. So then you probably have, ever evolving storefront. So you probably have to have a flexible API to a backend to change to make it more user friendly and do you ever, as it's about to evolve and you guys are going to start to add these things in, what can we expect in 2024? What can we expect?
Ooh, good question, Mal. If I had my way, we will have this automation piece finished.
Okay.
And something that we called in the pro trading world, we called it ADX trader, Alpha Delta X-ray. We will not call it that in the new world, in the retail world. We're going to come up with something cuter and catchier.
Okay.
But what it essentially did was allow you to build an automated trade idea plan, right? For lack of a better term, and then have all of your trades built into this template, and then have all the the conditional automation features in each trade, and then turn them on, turn them off, individually or all at once. And you basically have your day set for getting into stuff, getting out of stuff. And it's all coded for you. You're not coding,
and we're really doing this not for the end user, but to cater to Lex's golfing career. Is that correct?
Exactly right.
Okay.
You can't be in front of the computer all day, and I'm in front of the computer for a few hours trading.
All right.
Not even that much. And the time I'm away from the computer is when I hurt myself. I hurt myself.
Can we have a button where I press it?
Make money button.
I go golfing, I come back, and I make money.
Yeah.
All right.
It's going to be a big dollar sign. Just hit the dollar sign and off you go.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so, and then last question. What was the celebration when Tradier and TradeHawk united forces? What did you do that night?
Oh,
I said don't call me.
I think Lex gave me a list of things to do.
Right. I bet that happened.
Yeah. No, I don't think we did anything. He's in a different part of the country than I am, so we said high five. Let's get moving. So we actually knuckled down and got into this next phase. And I'd say we didn't say this, but we had a TradeHawk 1.0, and that's our term. And he rewrote it from the ground up, which is now TradeHawk 2.0.
Oh,
so the original version is on a shelf of sorts, and it's been rewritten in 2.0. And that's the one we're enhancing and making modifications to as we speak.
Okay, and me, I just always have more questions. So advice.
This is the last one, right?
Right, this is the last one. So advice for people trying to do what you did. What would you give them?
I'll let you answer that one.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
So I don't know that we knew what we were trying to do.
Yeah, that's probably safe.
We were just going with the flow. Things were happening and things would change for us, and we would try again, and then something else would come along.
I mean, we didn't say this, but we got bought by a company before Tradier, and it didn't work out. So we went to this company. They got bought by private equity, right? And then the private equity firm wanted to stay in the institutional side of their business, which was their predominant side. They didn't want to have any retail presence. So we were the retail side, and
that happened in 2 months.
It felt like 2 months. They carved us out and said, "Hey, here's your system back." That was my first question. The system, right? So we got that back in full, and then we went back to work and modifications.
So then it was like, okay, now what do we do? Right, we can keep trying. So it wasn't a plan. Hey, one day we're gonna build a system and we're gonna get all that workers.
Right.
So from what I hear, it sounds like if you have any idea, just start somewhere, and then it starts to gain a life of its own, and you kind of follow along with that.
Yeah, so the harder you work, the luckier you get, right? So
yeah,
the more you try, you just don't know where you're gonna end up.
Right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay,
it's
so
been a fun ride.
You what?
I said it's been a fun ride. It's been great. And I think I think it's only getting better too. We're learning more and more, so that's good.
All right.
I
So
want to see how you wrap this up, Mal. You're going to do a great job wrapping this up.
Trade Hawk 2024. Trade Hawk 2024. Excited to see what's coming. And you can actually contact these guys. So let's say you are a user of TradeHawk or you're not a user of TradeHawk and you just want to ask them questions about building, then you can call them. And if you are a user and you want something built, we're going to put both their addresses so you can just ring their doorbell.
Just come on over. That's right. No, send us an email. And what we also do that folks should know is I do a lot of one-on-one demos online. So there's a link for that on the website, Tradier.com. You can find the TradeHawk site in there. And then there's a place to schedule a one-on-one online demo, and I will walk you through the use of the platform. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes. We record it, and then we send it to you so you have it as your own personal user guide.
That's amazing.
So it's a great way to really get into it. And that's a total tips and tricks sort of effort too. People have really, esoteric questions, and we dive right in. So
okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate this. Thanks for taking the time. And until next time. And thanks for coding this, because we all love this program and probably are lost without it. And I would really like my outdoor events to be improved by your additional builds. So get going on that.
We got it. We got the cover, Mal.
All right. Bye, guys.
Right.
Have a good one.
Bye, Mal. See you.